Hello and welcome to everyone that's checking out this channel for the first or maybe even last time. This is Just a Thought with me, Mike Mueller, just randomly spitting nonsense about sports, life, art, whatever. I have a lot of thoughts and I put it out there. And we're just going to go from there. I like to start the show by just kind of introducing a little bit of what I do. I do artwork. I have a lawn care and landscaping company. I do landscape design, but I'm also really big into sports. At one time was an athlete and am not anymore because I have 3 kids and have to do a lot of other things, including talk about this as kind of an outlet, but also kind of just for fun. I get about an hour out here. My wife allows me to expand and talk sports and just a whole bunch of other nonsense. It is a big Monday for college football. It is currently the championship game of Alabama versus Ohio State. I wish I would have gotten this out sooner so that I could let you know who I wanted to win, reasons why I wanted to win, but real quickly, I will just give a shout out to Buckeye Nation, even though I don't really like to do that. I hope Ohio State wins because Roll Tide gets a little old. Not saying that I don't like the SEC. I'm just saying the Roll Tide have been there so many times before, and it gets kind of like a broken record, like how good the Patriots are in the NFL, winning 6 titles in 20 years. Let's get some fresh blood in there. That being said, I'd also like to see another team besides Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama. Notre Dame was a good change-up, but let's be honest, Notre Dame really didn't bring a whole lot this year to be desired. Anyway, it was a big weekend this weekend. I loved watching all the NFL teams in action. I am of course, Chiefs fan, as you see on the hat. I wanted Patrick Mahomes to be drafted by the Chiefs. When we went up and got him, I was ecstatic. Told my brother that we were going to win a Super Bowl because of Patrick Mahomes, and little did he know he was going to eat his words 3 years later. So, but with that being said, it's going to be a tough challenge this weekend with the Cleveland Browns coming in real hot against the Chiefs. I do think that even though the Pittsburgh Steelers have a very potent offense, I think they are a little bit one-dimensional. I think a lot of people are overlooking Le'Veon Bell came to the Chiefs and is a great physical running back, and they also have a carousel of running backs for the Chiefs. Now, they are without Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which is not amazing because he did pick up a lot of the carries and was doing really well, a rookie 1,000-yard rusher. So that was really nice for the Chiefs to pick up him from LSU as the last pick in the first round. But I will say Patrick Mahomes is a lot more talented, a lot younger, has mobility. It's going to be very hard for Cleveland to stop him. So I think it will be more of a shootout than the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game that we just saw as the last game of the week here on Sunday night, even though the numbers said that it was closer than what it was. Then moving backwards, throughout the weekend, the Colts, first game of the week. I do live in the Indianapolis/Louisville area. My home base is in the Louisville area, which is where I'm broadcasting to you now. My art studio /garage/ everything, wood shop, as you can see some slabs behind me. But I will say with the Colts game, to start off the weekend, it was a hard watch being, living in Indianapolis for almost 30 years of my life and seeing them come really close. It was a really hard fought game. But the Colts are just missing. Not saying Phillip Rivers is a bad quarterback, but you're just kind of missing that next level quarterback that you need. Definitely, if they still had Andrew Luck, it'd be a different story. I still think they only win 11 games this year, but the defense, the offensive line, everyone in the Colts organization should be really proud of the job they did going in and really making it a good season. Really thought they could get to that next level, but the Buffalo Bills, man, they came out and they just you could just tell they had a little bit of swagger about them, the little kind of thing that the Chiefs had last year, where it was like, they kind of have that edge at quarterback. They have that next level that he can go to, and I mean, being 6'7" and being as thick and as strong as Josh Allen is, man, he did a really good job with that. But Buffalo takes on, I believe it's Buffalo is taking on, I want to say the Ravens. And I tell you what, shouts out to the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. I got to see him live a couple times down here in Louisville. And the way he handled himself is a lot like the way Josh Allen handled himself in his game, where it was just like, he had that extra little savvy, the extra amount of swag, to push him past the Titans. Not saying the Titans were hanging in there and doing really well the whole game, but you could just tell Lamar was not going to let this game go by. He put the team on his shoulders, and with his arm and with his legs, he doesn't have to have 200 plus yards passing if he can run for $137 or $136, whatever it was. He was just ultimately dynamic. I mean, he was just next level. As it looks like the Crimson Tide have just scored and drew first blood against Ohio State. It looks like there's a review happening on this throw. So back to the Titans in Baltimore. Baltimore shut down the run game, which was what you needed to do against the Tennessee Titans, and I think that's why I would pick in the next week's matchup with Baltimore against Buffalo. I think Buffalo is in for a huge surprise, because if they can shut down Derrick Henry, Josh Allen is going to have to bring his A game throwing. Now, granted, there is going to be elements included in this, but the Colts have a really pretty stiff front seven. And besides a couple runs, they did most of their damage through the air. Josh Allen had a couple of breakout runs, but other than that, they weren't really grounding and pounding like you would think they would do. They did a lot more through the air, so it stands to say that I think Baltimore has probably got the edge here, even though I think Buffalo is a 3-point favorite to win. I'm gonna ride with Baltimore, because I just think Lamar Jackson, the run game travels. It doesn't matter how bad it is. He's got that next level speed that if you had that against Buffalo this year, Phillip Rivers, I mean, he's never really had wheels, but, even if he had a little bit of giddy up, I think having that little threat there would have really strung out the Bills' defense. And if you look at the amount of yards that the Colts put on, not really a super dominant offensive team, they can make you pay, but 450 yards, 0 turnovers. I think that Buffalo defense has a lot to work on this week, especially going against someone like a Lamar Jackson that can take it to the house, as he showed against Tennessee. I mean, that 47-yard run at the end of the second quarter, just it's next level stuff. Then getting to the Chiefs against Cleveland, like I already said, I honestly think the Chiefs are going to win. I think, Cleveland it was a huge win for the franchise. Props to them, but I just don't think they have enough to get them over the hill against the defending Super Bowl champs. Now it will be a shootout, just because I think the Chiefs are an opportunistic defense. They definitely have what it takes to create turnovers, but it's going to ride a lot on Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Le'Veon Bell, aka and also the Cheetah. They're going to have all their weapons with Sammy Watkins, Hardman. All those guys are going to have to come in and just really excel. No drop balls. They cannot drop balls. If they do, it's going to be a really long day, and we really don't want to put the pressure on Patrick Mahomes to carry you every week. You need to help him out a little bit. But he's a player, man. He's going to do what he needs to do. Flipping over to the NFC, see, Green Bay, I believe, is playing the Rams. I honestly think Green Bay's gonna walk over the Rams. I just don't think there's even a chance. I mean, I loved what the Rams did against Seattle. I think Seattle was kind of floundering at the end of the year, to be honest with you. It just, they kind of felt like the Steelers, where it's like, they had a good record. They were doing really good at the beginning of the year, but then all of a sudden it's just, little things, just not getting it done on the ground, relying heavily on DK Metcalf, and, little injuries popping up here and there. It kind of makes it hard for you to get to that next step, next level. And but again, Seahawks, you won your division. It was a great year. I think there's stuff to be desired for next year. Definitely getting more weapons, getting that offensive line fixed. I think that's another thing. Russell Wilson's a great athlete. He could throw the ball like, he's a baseball player. He could put the ball wherever he wants to, because he's got that background. He can do any arm angle, but at a certain time, you're going to have a pitch count and a hit count, and if he's got to run for everything, you're not helping your system. You're not helping him go through his progression if he has to run, for the first part and scramble, and then routes aren't running on time. Your timing routes aren't the same. So I would like to see Seattle do well. I'd like to see Russell win another championship. I think it's definitely possible, but that Rams defense came to play. They were up front, offense, just running and grinding the ball. I think that's what you're going to have to try to do when you bring that run game on the road, the defense on the road against Green Bay. But I just think what Aaron Rodgers did to the Tennessee Titans in Week 16 just shows you they got no problems. This year they're 13-3 again, but this is a different 13-3. This feels like we're going to the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers isn't playing around. He's in it. He's in it to win it. He's got a couple good running backs. He's got good wide receivers. They're smart. It looks like they're going in calculated, educated, and ready to make it happen. So I would say, with the next game, I don't really want to recap a lot of the NFC because it was a little bit more one-sided of games. You knew Tom Brady was going to beat Washington, even though it was a show. Washington just doesn't have – they just weren't there. And when Alex Smith was coming in hobbled, I thought he was their one chance. Savvy veteran can make those throws. When he came up hurt, not saying that Heineke wasn't good. I think that's his name, Heineke. We'll just keep it like that. But he just wasn't – I don't think he was ready. Even though he threw for 300 yards, you're not ready to go against, I would say, the GOAT of this generation in Tom Brady. Tom Brady was ready to win again. So with that being said, and the Bears, sorry, guys, you didn't have a chance against New Orleans. You guys you looked awful. Lack of run game, lack of pass game. Defense was great. You held Drew Brees to 21 or 27 points, but you had no shot. It just wasn't your year. Glad you made it to the playoffs, but I think most Bears fans knew that this wasn't it. But you definitely need to either re-up your contract with your coach, or you need a quarterback is what you need. So sorry, Nick Foles isn't the answer for everyone, but you need a quarterback. But getting back to the old man showdown, Drew Brees, which everyone's talking about already. They're all like, oh, we're just going to talk about this the rest of the week. Drew Brees, Tom Brady, two of the best, first and second, I think, in like every quarterback rating now. And I think this will be a little bit more one-sided because I think the defense of the Bears, to be honest with you, is better than the defense of the Washington Redskins. I think there's a lot more depth with the Bears, and I don't think when you looked at how the Saints were playing against the Bears, the Saints I don't think were using their full arsenal. I don't think they were really attacking the way they wanted to because they knew that they were playing for next week. It almost looked, to be honest with you, I thought it looked like they were playing for next week against the Buccaneers. They already knew that the Bucs won. So I think there was a little bit of showmanship. I think they were waiting to not show all of their arsenal. Todd Bowles is on the other side, and he's watching the game, seeing what they're doing, trying to get advanced scouting, the same as the Saints. But I think I'm going to have to go with Drew Brees. I think it's a real toss-up for me, but I think Drew Brees, playing in the stadium, and this will be 3 in a row if Brees completes it. But I think 3 in a row, call me crazy, but I think this is Brees' last go for it. I think Tom stays for, honestly, I think Tom could probably stay for another 3-4 years in Tampa Bay. Warmer weather. He wants to play till he's 50 anyway, so I'll get him to 48. I think he's just getting acquainted with the offense. Unlike Phillip Rivers and the Colts, Phillip Rivers already knew Frank Wright's offense because they played together. He was a quarterback coach for them, so there was already familiarity there. It was just getting familiar with the players. But I think that Tom Brady is going to stay with Bruce Arians or whoever the next coach is. If Bruce doesn't want to stay any longer for health reasons, I think Tom Brady can stay there for as long as he needs. And with the amount of players that want to play with Tom Brady, like Fournette, Antonio Brown, it's all about championships. Even Patrick Mahomes said it when he signed his contract. I don't think a lot of people know that, he's locked in for 10 years after next year, but his cap is always flexible. You can move it however you want. You're not locked into a small 4-year window or 5-year window where you have to make those little moves. Tom Brady's a little bit the same way, where he's like, I'll keep my number low so we can bring in these other people because, again, he's been in the league 20 years. He's got endorsements. He's got money. It's not Gisele's money. He doesn't, it's not about money. Everyone knows that Tom Brady's the best because he flashes those 6 rings, and you're like, yeah, that's W's, So, yeah, I think we're looking at possibly it'll be a shootout. I think it'll be a lot like the Cleveland Kansas City game, but I think it'll be a shootout. I think, because they're in New Orleans, because it's Brees' last year. Not saying that he's gonna end, but I think it is. If Drew Brees gets to championship game or even the Super Bowl, I think Drew calls it. I think he's got enough kids now. The Saints love him, but it's gonna be a hard position, like Peyton Manning with the Colts. The Colts knew it wasn't over with Peyton, but at the same time, when you have an Andrew Luck, waiting there, and let's be honest, if Andrew Luck didn't get as beat up as he did, Andrew Luck would probably, with the new GM, the new offensive line, Andrew Luck would probably have a Super Bowl. I don't think a lot of people can argue against that. And if you do, sorry, this is just a thought. It's my thoughts. So, sorry. So there's the breakdown. I think you got Green Bay is just too good. You've got Drew Brees that can edge it out. So your championship game is looking like a Green Bay, New Orleans championship in Lambeau. And then I think Kansas City wins a shootout because I just don't think Baker Mayfield has enough in the tank to get over Patrick and all the weapons. And then you got to take into account you're going to have a lot of just too much depth there. And I think once you get to the next round, the pressure's a little bit more on, and Kansas City's already seen that pressure last year. And then you got it's your last game there. You've got Baltimore versus Buffalo. I think Baltimore, and we already said that. So Baltimore, KC, little rematch of what happened earlier this year. I think KC's just again, Baltimore came back against Tennessee, but I don't think Tennessee is a little bit more one-dimensional. They do have big wide receivers, but they don't really have any designed plays for those wide receivers. It looked like they were kind of running the same route, and Baltimore was taking advantage of that. And then, they were getting to the house a lot more. The problem is, I know Tannehill's elusive, and he's a big guy, and he can do a lot of what Patrick doesn't. Numbers swing a little bit more in Tannehill's favor, but I think the elusiveness and the weapons, speed weapons that Kansas City has, you just can't match that. So you're looking. I think you're going to look at Kansas City again in Tampa Bay for the Super Bowl this year, and then I think you're also going to see the Green Bay, New Orleans. I think Green Bay runs away with it. I think Drew Brees will get there, but I don't think they have enough when it comes to Lambeau. I know Alvin Kamara for the Saints is a great running back, and I think Murray, another running back, is great for the Saints. You're getting in Lambeau in negative degree windshields. I think you give the edge to Rodgers. He's the MVP of the league this year, I'd have to say. Even though I thought they always gave that to, the best player, which would be Patrick Mahomes. But Aaron Rodgers, you can't argue with that. Aaron Rodgers has been great this year as well. So all that being said, I think you're going to have a Green Bay, Kansas City rematch, which will be great because that's a repeat of Super Bowl I, and I don't think it's going to be the same outcome. I think it'll be a high-scoring affair because I think both defenses are opportunistic, which means they play very well from ahead, but I think it's going to be so much of a shootout, such a track meet in a warm environment, and both these teams, which a lot of people don't understand, the Kansas City Chiefs play in a very cold part of the Midwest still. It is still can get really cold there. It's not Wisconsin cold, but it's still pretty cold. So they play outside, so they're a tough team too. But when it comes to outside and nice, humid, warm places, the boys that have the track speed, the foot speed, they're going to run past you. So those are my just the thoughts about what the playoff picture looks like. We'll see what that turns out to in the future. Right now, I'm watching a tie game with the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Ohio State. Excuse me, I didn't mean to do that on air, but sometimes you just can't control yourself. I had a couple other thoughts. Long pause. Thought it froze up there for a second, but I just, had to think through what I was going to say next. As you do notice across the spectrum there, the Welsh flag, found out recently that I'm predominantly of Welsh descent. Kind of cool, even though having a last name that's German. Some people say I look like Roy McIlroy. Don't think so. But yeah, just they did a little pooch kick here. Ohio State, I don't know what, but that didn't work out well. Looks like Alabama was totally not prepared for that. Anyway, I will have more content coming to you guys soon. And again, it is cold, even though my garage is somewhat insulated. It is very cold out here right now. My eyes are starting to blink and slowly close slower because it is that cold. I will have some other things coming to you soon. Again, I artist background, so I will show you guys some of my artwork eventually down the road. If you have any comments or questions, just feel free to reach out through DM, and I will answer whatever you got because, again, I just have a bunch of thoughts. All right, we'll see you guys next time.